Shalom, Call Halal, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Rakaha, Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops, salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, among the heathens that look like those heathens they're among. And to the Yahawah that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Greatmillstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And I'm going to talk about prophecies in ESDRAS, with the prophet Ezra seen. And as I'm looking at this image of clearly what is the Empire State Building in Manhattan, New York, my first trip to New York, of course, I did the tourist thing and went to there. And it was crazy because, 9/11 had just happened, and it was the first time I saw police officers with military-grade weapons. You had a whole unit of police that came in, and they all were carrying the AR-15 pistols, the short, M16s, basically, what's it called, the AR-15. And it just, it weirded me out because, I'd never seen anything like that. That typically when you saw that sort of hardware, that sort of weaponry, you were around, Marine units, Army units, or, Navy units or whatever. I'd never seen that in police. And that brings into mind this one. This is 2 Ezra 9:1, and it reads, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." All right? And the Lord is clearly visiting this place, and attacking economies is one of the ways he's doing it. All right? Verse 3. "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world," the uproars all over the world and almost in every continent, even in some of the islands. All right? And it says, "Then thou shalt understand, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning." All right? For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, and the end is showing itself. So I'm going to play a portion of this video from Stansberry Research with Daniela Camboni. I've been watching her for quite a few years now, maybe about a good 5 years or so. I've been watching Daniela Camboni, and she has a guest on here, Doug Casey. And Doug Casey's going to give you a slap in the face, a dose of reality. Right? And I want you to imagine, because he's going to talk about the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, and what entails with it. What comes with that is complete and total destruction of privacy. And then you will have people that say the most foolish things like, "Well, I have nothing to hide. I don't care." You close the door when you go to the bathroom, right? You have a right to certain privacies that's really nobody else's business, and they have no business knowing about, the government, anyone else. All right? Every individual has a certain amount of privacy. What you do in your bedroom, with your, with your woman. Well, for people who are normal, with your woman, that's your business. As long as you're not doing anything unlawful, but that's your business. It's nobody else's business. All right? So being invasive, where someone can track your every purchase, track your whereabouts, what you spend, how you spend it, what you're looking at, where you are. All right? Because what you have to understand is you're going to walk into a store, and your presence is going to be announced, or at least it's going to be recorded. So they already know you've been there, whether you buy something or not. All right? And then if you buy anything, there's going to be less jobs, because there's going to be very few to no cashiers. So whatever item that you put in your cart and when you walk out with will automatically be tracked and charged. And if you can't see the beyond overreach and controlling that, because they'll say, well, it's going to cut down on stealing and safety. Yeah, that that and that's going to be the sales point. Safety, safety, safety. We'll know where your kids at. Yeah, well, you know where their kids at when they're not kids anymore either. But without any further ado, Daniela Camboni and Mr. Doug Casey.
With massive layoffs in nearly every sector, weakness in manufacturing, car sales, and housing, and the biggest one-month decline in the trade deficit since the financial crisis, the economic picture is not looking good, which might explain why so many billionaires are loading up on gold, including hedge fund manager John Paulson and real estate mogul Sam Zell. Bottom line, now is the time to own gold.
And it's funny because billionaires are locked in and they're insiders, but yet they're loading up on gold with it. But at the same time, they want to get rid of paper, which they told you, and they told you gold wasn't money, but they all seem to be loading up on it. All right, that's what the people at the Fed said. The former head of the Federal Reserve, gold isn't money, while they loading up on it. All right, and now they want to take it away and give you digital, which they can completely control 100%. Think, people.
Why the experts at Stansberry Research just stepped forward with a major gold prediction, arguing gold could soar as high as $3,000 by the end of the year, possibly even higher. You can find out why and get instant access to their #1 gold investment.
All right, it might even be higher than that because I listened to a video where Insider talked about oil because of the Saudi Arabians not using the dollar anymore or using other currencies, and they're already starting to do it. That's going to speed up the collapse of the dollar. And you got to remember when you were paying $5 and $7 a gallon of gas, that was what barrels of oil were like. Anywhere from $85 to $100. Okay, they're talking about barrels of oil being $130. So you're looking at $10 to $15 a gallon of gas. That's going to be uproars of the people. All right. Like my man on TikTok say, somebody about to croak. That's my man's. But here we go.
Today, it's not bullion, an ETF, or a mining stock. But in the past, this gold strategy could have made you nearly 50x your money. Considering how quickly the price of gold has been moving in recent weeks, you don't want to waste any time missing out on the gains these experts believe are in store for
there we go.
Financial crisis. And now he's back, warning us that
we can go back a little bit.
That central bank digital currencies are coming faster than we think in 2023. Please welcome to the show, best-selling author.
And digital currencies is going to be connected to the MOTB, to the CHIP, Revelation, the 13th chapter. As a matter of fact, let's get it. All right. Gotta be careful how I read it, because you read it straight out and they'll delete your video. It's happened to me multiple times, or strike your channel. But this is Revelation 13 and 16, and it reads, "And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive an mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." All right. "And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the BEAST, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the BEAST, for it is the number of a man, and the number is 666.
Doug Casey. Doug, always good to see you. Happy New Year. I'm still saying it. There you go. How are you doing?
Good. I'm speaking to you from sunny, backward, but quiet and peaceful Uruguay at the moment.
Well, you're definitely in a better place than I am in a very loud, noisy, and cold New York City. But happy to be with you today. Hopefully some of your thoughts will warm us, maybe not, maybe they'll just give us chills. Want to talk your forecast for 2023, want to get your thoughts on, investment strategies for the year and so much more. But let's start with some of your forecasts. Most notably, you've come out saying that we are going to get central bank digital currencies in 2023, and this is one of the scariest things on the horizon. Now, we did see in 2022 a record number of countries, I believe 114, working on pilot projects on central bank digital currencies. And the New York Fed, by the way, announced in November that they would launch a 12-week pilot project in collaboration with commercial banks for a central bank digital currency, kind of a news item that was under the radar there. So to your point and to these points, can you give us, your thesis here on why you think they're coming faster than we think?
Well, the problem comes back to central banks themselves. It seems that most people think that they're part of the cosmic firmament, but they're a fairly recent innovation. For most countries, they've only been around 100 years, and they're a complete disaster from the point of view of the common man. These idiots are responsible for printing gigantic amounts of currency units, which is to say, they're responsible for retail price rises, huge distortions in the economy, and over the last 20 years, things have really gotten out of control. This is a long-term trend. It started 100 years ago, but over the last 20 years, it's gotten completely out of control.
So it started 100 years ago, meaning even longer than that, but they've been planning on slowly bringing in what they're openly saying now is the New World Order, which every person that scoffed at that term needs to apologize to a whole lot of people that they refer to as conspiracy nuts and all these other things, because now your government officials and your religious leaders are now openly saying in the mainstream media that it is time for a new world order, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. All right, they're trying to get around the prophecies and what the Bible is written about the end of this old world and the beginning of the one that's to come. And what's happening is that his people, Esau, Edom, is trying to rewrite the stories that they may stay in power and stay in control. But the Lord's not going to allow that to happen. He told you exactly what they were going to do. We've been telling you exactly what they're going to do, and they're doing exactly as we said, exactly as we read out of the Lord's word.
Where they've gone to ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. I thought it was metaphysically impossible for interest rates to go below zero, but they did for a significant period of time. But now interest rates are going to be heading up regardless of what they say or do for reasons we could talk about. They've gone to massive quantitative easing, printing up trillions of currency.
Which is the only reason why America hasn't burned, been in the midst of a gigantic civil war and everything else, is because of no one was counting on quantitative easing, because America actually should have collapsed full blown in 2008, but the quantitative easing has gotten you to 2023. All right, because they started printing all this money and they did it 3 times. All right. But but it actually should have, and a lot of experts would tell you they should have just let it crash, and it would have, maybe be on its way to healing by now. But you got a lot of people that wasn't willing to although many people lost, small people and low level rich people lost their wealth. The super elite wealthy, they didn't want to lose their power, so they didn't want to lose what they had. So the quantitative easing was pushed, which was the printing of money, which made our money that much. Took away that much more value from the currency.
Currency units. This is to maintain the house of cards that we built up over decades and decades. And getting back to your actual question about central bank digital currencies, this is like the final arrow in their quiver, where not only won't we have paper money, which is at least private and discreet, everything is going to go through your computer. Everything is going to be monitored. They'll be in a position to credit and debit your account especially whether or not you're a good little lamb. The Canadian truckers last year had a taste of this, where the government basically reached into their bank accounts because it didn't like what they were doing. So if
you see exactly what, and so he just gave you the perfect example of why, how dangerous it is for the people to be stuck on, digital currency, because these truckers were trying to stand up for themselves. The government went into their bank accounts and attacked them through their money. All right. And if you can't see how dangerous that is, talking about, well, I have nothing to hide. Shut your dumb ass up. All right. Because that means you have to conform to everything, including things that are not right. All right. You know, I'm going to click on another video and let it play for a while. And you see the look of concern on her face. You know, she had this like, goddamn, she had this serious look on her face when he said that. You know, if you were watching, paying attention to her body language as he uttered those words. All right. But you're really going to have tyrannical governments running wild, because there will be no checks and balances. There already are no checks and balances, you know, within this crooked, corrupt government. You know, if that were the case, you know, with my own personal battle with a lawsuit that I have against a corrupt institution, that the judge is just refuses to rule on my case. All right. Why? Because I've beaten them. And of course, my case would open the floodgates for everyone to come behind me and do the same thing. Since they don't want that to happen, they just leave my case in limbo. So what happened to a speedy, expedient trial? You know, and I've done almost I've gone to the Department of Justice. I've done everything, and yet it just goes to show you these people do whatever the hell they want. That's why they stopped teaching law, which I imagine they probably stopped teaching it law in the schools. Probably, I would assume. I haven't done any research on it, but it would make sense if they stopped teaching it prior to the civil rights movement. All right. And that's why, and if the law was transparent, then they wouldn't speak in legalese. They wouldn't teach you one form of English in the school and then speak another form of English in the courts. You see what I'm saying? Let's go to the next video. This one right here. Listen up carefully. All right. So we're gonna go to about the
$30 concealed holster is taking the world by storm.
It's a badass holster. Let's go. Come on, man. Damn, I gotta play it.
And the left doesn't want you to have it.
Try to click off
it's
of
made
it.
From
Here we go.
Folks, Canadian
We're gonna go about to the 4-minute mark.
Sharing perspective with you that you're likely not going to hear in other places, and it's still a very contentious issue to this day. But we also, of course, had this conflict ensue, where one of the first things that Ukraine did, and the first thing that happens in any war zone, is going to be the imposition of martial law, long before the nukes are inbound, I do believe. So people need to prepare for that. As preppers, as independently minded people, we are going to be between a rock and a hard place.
They don't want independently minded people. They want people to go along, hence, and do exactly as they say when they say it, despite if they're trampling on your rights and they're trampling on the laws of the land. All right, and they'll be able to do that very easily with your central bank digital currency. Because they don't have to even send the stormtroopers to kick in your door. They just shut you down where you can't buy any food, pay any of your bills, travel, or anything. All right? It's going to make it real easy for them to oppress and control the people even more so than they already do.
That means we're going to be between lawlessness and excessive rule of law.
Let's go to 2nd Esdras. We were talking about the prophecies of Esdras. 2nd Esdras 15. I wasn't 16. I'm gonna go ahead and start here, and it says, "Woe to the world." It's 15 and 15. 2nd Esdras 15, 14. 2nd Esdras 15, 14. "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. Because when they start implementing these laws, you know, the what used to be the home of the brave, which I refer to as the home of the bend over and Vaseline up and take it. They're gonna finally stop taking it and fight. All right. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands." They're gonna finally start going against their government. It's gonna get crazy out here because you're gonna have the law-abiding citizens so trying to maintain and hold on to the law, and then you're gonna have the desperate people who are going to be completely lawless because they're desperate, and then you're gonna have the people who are just crazy and waiting for the chaos to come, the opportunists who didn't prepare at all, but their whole plan was just to take everybody else's shit. You got people out there like that too. Like this guy's been prepping for years, you know, like he's going to admit he's got a couple years worth of food and that whole sort of thing. You got other people that prepped a different way. You got, you know, preppers who prepped to break through barricades to be able to outgun you and take your shit. You got those type of preppers too. Okay. And then you got guys that they're going to try to fight to put the law of the land back into place. And so as you can see, this is going to be like, you know, just a free for all. This is going to be like a damn Royal Rumble. All right. And it says, "For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. And they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." All right. Because they're going to be, you know, check points in martial law, like he said. All right. "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but he shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and the great tribulation." So people are going to be kicking in people's doors to take their goods and services, to take their food, their water, their women. There's going to be a lot of rapes, a lot of murders, a lot of pillaging. Citizens against citizens and the government against citizens, because governments is also going to be coming to confiscate stuff like you see that he has on the wall so that they can use it for their purpose, you know, so that they can try to keep their tyrannical government's rule in place. So it's just going to be a complete, utter, crazy free fall in the midst of this great world's war. And they're going to probably bring in hirelings, mercenary soldiers from other countries to do it, because the majority of the U.S. soldiers would not do this to their own people. And secondly, they're going to be forced to go fight overseas for a home that's completely back home, destroying their way of life and their families and their people. That's where this is headed.
There's two abbreviations that are commonly used in prepping. There's WROL, which is without rule of law, and contrasted with excessive rule of law. In the TV show The Last of Us, it starts out 20 years later in what appears to be a dictatorship under martial law. And this is understandable because you have a lot of stupid people who are going to do stupid things like, you know, go out beyond the gates and bring some infection back in. So in that
problem is with that, the infection was probably already within, because it was started by the same tyrannical governments who wanted to get control over the people in the first damn place. But that's, you know,
context, you absolutely can understand. So this is not about whether or not the imposition of martial law is the effective course of action. It may well be the only course of action, because you don't know if there's going to be sleeper cells, saboteurs, people who are, you know, can't be trusted.
Why do you need saboteurs in a government that's saboteuring itself so it can set up a whole new system, reset? That's what people like him are missing.
Spies, lots of kind of stuff, but you need to understand what this is going to entail. It is going to entail
the laws of the land. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights are in the way of the New World Order. I repeat, the laws of the land, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are in the way of the New World Order, and they need to remove it. All right, and how they're going to do that through martial law and implementation of executive orders. All right, and that's going to be done off an event, more than likely 99 times out of 100 that they instituted. All right,
and afford the government privileges. We're going to actually make a dedicated video about this. And we were effectively under a very similar state of martial law. Martial law is, it's not really an officially recognized term by most governments. But during the pandemic, my province in particular, we were, for all intents and purposes, under something that resembled that of martial law. But nobody really, batted an eye, because we still largely are a democracy. And of course, the abuse.
Democracy, grenade. It just makes you think of Daniel's 8:25. All right, through peace, they shall destroy many, and democracy comes at the end of a barrel and the kicking in of a door and an explosion. So with that, I'm gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, Rakakadash, Wa Ababa Ba Kwam Yasharala Shalom.